Hey, this is Augie, Augie's Locker Room. When you come to the store, you're going to see things that you've probably never seen before unless you've been to a museum. Great items that go back to the Rockney era to the present. Website, augieslockerroom.com. Visit us here or the website.
Tim O'Malley with Tim Priester. We are at the end of Access Fest 2022, where we spoke with every coach, coordinators multiple times, and about 45 Notre Dame players, Tim. But today it was Tommy Rees and Al Golden, and you were with Tommy Rees. What was kind of the crux of the conversation with the offensive coordinator?
Well, naturally, a lot of conversation about Tyler Buckner and taking ownership of the offense. You know, I asked him, since you named him starter, has he seen a difference? It's easy to say the answer is yes. But he said, you know, just the little things, the nuances like, making sure that somebody's lined up properly, a blocking scheme, how a route was run. It's up to Tyler Buckner to take command of those situations and tell guys where they need to be. And I think, just the natural evolution of him being number one, that's something that he's got ownership of now.
Not surprisingly, Coach Golden was asked a lot about his depth, and he talked about creating vertical depth, which is first string, second string, third string, and horizontal depth, and that kind of goes back to the linebackers, the 4 older linebackers. He cross-trained them in the spring, but all of August, he wants those 4 older linebackers to be able to play all 3 positions, so you're not always having to roll in a quote-unquote second stringer. But so I followed up, and Junior Tui Halamaka has been entrenched in that 2 deep, or one of the 6 guys, and he mentioned that Prince Colley, after missing all that time, has had his best practice that he has ever seen him have. He is now those are the 6 guys for Ohio State, and obviously they're going to keep building out after that. And obviously we know all about the depth of defensive line. Mm-hmm. We could surmise 8, 9, 10. You figure there's at least 9 play in Columbus. Well,
and Tommy Rees feels better about the wide receiver situation. They've gotten some guys back there. They're a little bit deeper. They've had more time to work on the nuances of the game. So I think at this point with the receivers, considering what happened with Avery Davis, the optimism is as high as it's been because you're able to run some guys out there. We know who the usual suspects are at the forefront of this. We also talked about running backs. He wouldn't get into where Logan Diggs is in terms of recovery, but he feels very confident about 3 running backs. He says 3 or 4. Jabron Payne probably being the 4th one there. But, that's looking up. I asked him about Audric Estime, whether it would be an unveiling. He was a little hesitant to say that, but we only saw him briefly last year, and he was very impressive. I think it's going to be a bit of an unveiling because he's going to get a bunch of touches against a good, not necessarily great Ohio State defensive front.
I thought Coach Golden made a good point where they're starting to stress now. This game isn't going to be won early. It's going to be, we're going to take punches, they're going to take punches, punch, counter punch, and Ohio State wants to dictate 80, 85 plays. And he says, we have that. That's why we have this depth. That's why we built this depth. And it really seems like that those 4 safeties, and perhaps Xavier Watts, is just hard to know because he's helping at wide receiver. There's going to be a heavy rotation at safety. And he's pretty confident. He said, we have grown a lot in our communication. You can hear the guys that didn't communicate enough in the spring, and I think that means Ramon Henderson, because he was new to it, really communicating now. I feel like he's confident with those 4 going in. And, again, he mentioned Tariq Bracy, just the maturity, the growth he's had, and he wouldn't say, but I think Tariq Bracy might be playing all 3 cornerback positions.
Yeah. The challenge for Tommy Rees again going against Jim Knowles, the new defensive coordinator at Ohio State, who was at Oklahoma State last year. I made the mistake, I guess it slipped my mind, that Jim Knowles was not actually coaching that game, but it was a Jim Knowles defense, and after Notre Dame hit them with a couple of punches there in the first half, things settled in a little bit. So the challenge there is, again, an offense having to adjust to something a little bit more unusual in the 4-2-5 look in the way that Knowles uses it. And you have to do it on the fly. He's happy he has Harry Heastand now as his offensive line coach, and happy with Jared Parker, who's a sounding board for him as a former offensive coordinator at West Virginia.
We'll have plenty more from today's Access over the next 2 days, and then head coach Marcus Freeman speaks at noon on Monday, followed by our Irish Illustrated Insider podcast. And that's a wrap. Follow us at irishillustrated.com.